I only saw one guy clapping that time. It's better than last time. Thanks everyone for coming to the third emergency debate of term. The motion before the House today is this House would walk on the grass. I'll quickly just go through the format and then we'll get underway. So 2 speeches on proposition, 2 on opposition. Each speech will be 5 minutes long. There'll be a break in between those 2 speeches for floor speeches. Please try and keep these under a minute in length. There'll be 2 in proposition, 2 in opposition, 2 in abstention. Obviously, that depends on how many people want to make them. In terms of points of information, in the middle 3 minutes of each speaker's speech, you can make points of information. Please try to keep these 15 seconds or under. And also, please wait for the microphone to reach you whenever you speak in the chamber, and also just say your name and college before you speak. At the end, there'll be a vote. You say aye if you want to vote in proposition, no if you want to vote in opposition, and then abstention, just sort of mumble something. Okay, so with that, we're going to start the debate with Baskaran. Baskaran is a 4th-year mathematician from Trinity College.
Is this on? Wonderful. Cambridge has a history of producing the world's greatest thinkers and leaders. It has done so not by enforcing blind obedience, but by promoting minds which question and buck traditions when they're unnecessary and harmful. We, as a proposition, put to you that it is therefore our right, as the vanguards of equality and future leaders, to walk on the grass. We do so on practical, moral, and egalitarian reasons. So, practical reasons. Beyond the simple boost in health from greater exposure to plants, low depression rates, fewer irate porters, and pasty mathmos suddenly getting a new ray of health, we look at the numbers. When walking across the grass, we save about 2 seconds a day. This doesn't seem like much, but it adds up. 2 seconds a day, 7 days a week, 24 weeks a year, 4 years, 1,002. That's 10,000 minutes. 10,000 minutes of being forced to walk across the hard tarmac for no reason. You would doom our brightest PhD students to walk like hungry ghouls across the blank tarmac of Trinity for no reason whatsoever. That is what our opposition is suggesting. And beyond this, as we can see that the practical reasons are in health, there are no POIs, though we have a moral obligation to do this as well. We, as students of Cambridge, have... Do you think PhD students could conceivably benefit from exercise at some point in their lives? Exercise on their own time, sure. Exercise when they're trying to get to important places and do important science or arts, yes. No. Moral reasons. We, as the students of Cambridge, have started to lack moral fibre. We have refused to stand up to the small injustices our government, that authority, has put to us. For example, the £9,000 a year fees. The £3,000 a year fees we fought tooth and nail against but failed, and now the £9,000 a year fees have come. We have not fought against them. We've done nothing to stop them. We have grown weak. We need small victories, and it's small victories like this that can bring the student body population together, that can bring Cambridge back to the global bastion of whatever Cambridge was before. Imagine if Lincoln had deigned not to walk on the grasses of slavery, but to skirt across the easy tarmac. What if the apostles of Christ had walked on the lawn of the crucifix and taken him down themselves? God would still walk among us. This is what we are sacrificing. And finally, possibly most importantly, I urge you to vote prop for egalitarian reasons, to break the glass ceiling that the patriarchy has put upon this university, this dark shadow, which is ironic because it's a glass ceiling. If you look, currently only fellows may walk across the hallowed grass. And as we can see, most of the fellows are male. Think about this. We work so hard to bring female comedians, female politicians to the big screen so that women may see that they too can rise in power. But in front of us, we allow fellows, mostly male, to stroll across the grass. How do you think women feel when they see that the people clearly in power are all male, all strolling erect across the grass in clear defiance of themselves? How are we supposed to put hope into girls' hearts and show them that they too can be as great as men and is right for this? And so we urge you to vote for the proposition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Baskaran. I now welcome Reece Edmends to open the case for opposition. Reece is a first-year classicist from King's College.
Thank you. Now, the obvious rebuttal to the feminist argument about women as fellows is that we should just have more women as fellows and then let them walk on the grass. But we would also say that it's actually a tremendous idea that only fellows are allowed to walk on the grass. And that is because it gives them a free perk which will enable them to be more attracted to our university. So when a sort of bright scientific mind or artistic mind is deciding, where shall I go and study, where shall I go and teach? And they have a choice between the great universities of the land or even of the world, Harvard, Yale, Dundee, whatever. And they're making their choice, and they think, I can walk on the grass at King's and the students can't. And we think this policy is absolutely crucial if we retain the brightest minds and the best minds in Cambridge. But that's not the true reason why we think students should not walk on the grass. I mean, obviously, our contention is that to walk on the grass would damage it. But the secondary question is, why does damaging it? And I think we all agree that having hordes of students trample across the grass each day on their way to their lectures or supervisions, whatever, would damage it. But our secondary case is, why does damaging it make it less useful as grass? Because we'd all accept that, say, you shouldn't walk on a cricket pitch or a putting lawn or a croquet lawn or whatever, because it would make it less useful for playing cricket or rugby or croquet or whatever. But why does walking on that grass make it less good as Cambridge grass? And we would argue that the reason we have these lawns is merely to exist. And the Cambridge lawns simply exist. And we think they must be protected and be allowed to do so because they symbolise something of the eternal in our lives. They symbolize something beyond our mortal lives because they remain. They have stayed there for 800 years, and they will, by God, if we have our way, stand for another 800 years beyond us. And they remind us that, governments may change, empires may crumble, civilizations may fall into the sea, union presidents may get embroiled in corruption scandals, but that grass still remains. Yes.
So apart from the platonic argument, if we ignore the fact that liberal arguments are stupid,
I do have more arguments, but one. Yeah.
shouldn't we be considering the grass as a symbol of rebirth and of strength, not of ever unchanging hardness? It's alive, it's grass, and once the students walk on it, it will regrow. I mean, surely you can't be suggesting that Homerton's grass sucks.
Have you been to Homerton? It resembles a post-apocalyptic wasteland. And that's before we even get onto the grass. My point is basically, though, in Cambridge, our aim really is to devote ourselves to a higher standard of truth and beauty. And as we're buffeted by, various mundane concerns of our student lives, all-nighters for essays or whatever, or sort of what's this bottle of wine got in it, all that sort of thing. And the graphs reminds us of what we're striving for, that we're striving for something better, something beyond ourselves, something which sort of brings us closer to the divine. But on to my second point. On to my second point, which is self-discipline. Because, of course, we would not contend for a second that it would not be quicker to walk, across the front court to the King's Chapel and thereby shave a few minutes on my way to Evensong or whatever. But we would contend that the shortest path is not always the best. I mean, it teaches you something if you have to take a slower way and if you have to walk round. And we think that's supremely important in our sort of greedy, materialistic, post-Thatcherite society, where we're just taught to, grab and get what we want. It doesn't matter who you trample over to get in your way. We think that this teaches us the idea of rules, of discipline, of sort of containing yourself, and that sometimes a better way is a slower way. And I'd like to posit my final contention, which is, if you've seen the film Chariots of Fire, you must remember that Harold Abrahams runs all the way around Trinity Quad in the time of the clock striking. And if the proposition had their way, Harold Abrahams would just nip across the grass, sort of dive through the fountain, and get there in half the time. I'd like to ask you, would that be as an impressive achievement? And would he then have gone on to win the 1924 Paris Olympics? I think I rest my case, damaging the grass, Platonism, and discipline of the sort of private individual. And for that reason, we think that you should leave the grass well alone. Vote for the grass. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reece. Now we open up to floor speeches, so you can have your say. Does anyone have any points in proposition, opposition, or abstention? Oh, wait, no, I think I saw a hand go up over there. Opposition. Yeah, can we get a microphone up there?
Amy Gregg, Murray Edwards College. At Murray Edwards, we are actually allowed to walk on the grass, and if you've ever ventured up the hill to witness our mangled lawns, you'll see why the rules are different in most colleges.
Okay, and then abstentions? No. Okay, let's just continue the debate. Okay, so I now welcome Oliver Mosley. Oliver is a first-year HSBS student at St. John's College.
Thank you very much. The issue before us today is an incredibly clear one. The issue is one of the fundamental aspects of our lives, which is the equality of the individual. We've heard from the opposition that we should stand for the integrity of the grass, the fact that we're not allowed to walk on it somehow represents something deep within ourselves, possibly looking a little bit too deeply into the grass. What I would suggest is that the grass, what we should strive for is when we look across that plane, is the equality that grass represents somehow. So, the point of my speech today is to talk about two things. First of all, the equality which we should all strive for as Cambridge students, and second of all, the potential consequences of allowing the central colleges to walk on the grass. Therefore, it is first of all, I turn to the population as a whole. I'm a member of St. John's, we've all seen the tourists who stumble and drunkenly sprawl across the grass while I come back from my lectures and are not allowed to do so. I get to watch other members of the population allowed access to the grass because my porters don't care, but I am not because I'm a member of the college. There is also a fundamental problem with the fact that within the Cambridge community there was an inequality between us. We are divided between dons and students. Dons are allowed to walk on the grass, but we are not. Now we've heard that for some reason, the reason that dons all flock to Oxford and Cambridge is not because of the free wine, apparently. It's not because of the salary. It's not because of the prestige. It's because they get to frolic across the grass. Now I claim to you, have you ever heard a Cambridge don say, yes, I actually lecture at Cambridge, where indeed I can walk across the grass? That doesn't happen because no one actually cares. No, thank you. So, and finally, the equality between ourselves as students. Why is it that Amy Gregg, Murray Edwards, gets to walk across the grass, but Oliver Mosley, St. John's College may not? We are fundamentally divided, Amy, between grass walkers and non-grass walkers because of the colleges we have chosen. And I claim to you that is unfair. It is unequal and it is not worthy of us as Cambridge students. Therefore, I claim that we should not be divided. Now I turn to the consequences. Now I point to the motion, this house would walk on the grass. This is not this house, the planet. This is this house, the Cambridge Union. The Cambridge Union would walk on the grass, and therefore I would claim that the integrity of the grass is very unlikely to be compromised by the percentage of students who would be walking across it, rather than just allowing the tourists to drunken frolically across. This happened this morning. This is why I'm particularly pent up about this. At 9 a.m. Anyway, that's what I'm suggesting, that we should think about the consequences. There are very few consequences. If we look at the great parks of London, I do live in London, Hyde Park, Holland Park, the beauty of that grass, it is not compromised by people walking across it because they have gardeners. Now, I would claim that the reason that the grass at Murray Edwards is so awful is because the gardeners have not been maintaining it properly. What I would claim is that, oh yeah, I'm blaming the Murray Edwards gardeners. So what I would claim is if we allowed, our colleges are the man in this. It is the man telling us if we allow you to walk on the grass, well, that means the grass is going to be awful. Well, how about we tell the gardeners that now they must tend to the grass more carefully because students will walk across it and it must be tended to in its integrity. Therefore, I move to my conclusion, and I ask you to imagine yourself before the gates of a college with beautiful grass, Trinity or St. John's, for example. Probably more likely to be Trinity. I would ask you to think, standing before the grass, I would see in your eyes the same fear that would take the heart of me. A time may come when the courage of union members fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship, but it shall not be this evening. An hour of wolves and shattered shields when the age of the union comes crashing down, but it is not this day. This day we fight. By all that you hold dear, on that good earth, I bid you stand on the grass, members of the union, and vote with the proposition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oliver. I now welcome George Clay to close the debate as a whole. George is a first-year historian from Jesus College.
So maybe sometimes you have a right to fight for the liberties of all men. Maybe sometimes you have a right to be selfish, to think of yourselves, to put your own preferences first. But on opposition, we're here to tell you that sometimes life takes something more than that. We bring you one point today. Today, a walk over the grass. Tomorrow, a walk over order, a walk over structure, a walk over liberties, ladies and gentlemen. We simply do not think that is good enough. That is why we're so exceptionally proud to oppose this motion. Two things in this speech. One, the policy proposed is illegitimate. Secondly, what happens when you are prepared to lay aside that order? A few responses will be integrated. So, legitimacy first. Obviously, at some point in our life, we wonder what the point is. Scurrying day to day, we wonder what it is we're all about. What we're here to tell you is that there is a principle behind it. There is a greater plan for all of us, something that allows us to be better, something that allows us to be something more. It happens here, it happens across the country, it happens in universities, it happens in playgrounds, it happens in preschool. It's the aspiration to lay aside your difference. It's the aspiration to a greater pursuit, a pursuit of discipline of mind, ladies and gentlemen. That is what education is. That is what opposition stands for. Pursuit of discipline does mean sacrifices of your mind. It sometimes too means sacrifices of your body, because human beings are larger than the sum of the temptations which assail us. They're bigger. You as individuals are bigger than your can of Red Bull. You are bigger than your can of Pops. You are bigger than your shot of tequila. We are asking you to lay aside those temptations. We are asking you for a bit of discipline. And so when you are staring down that line between the grass and the concrete, we are asking you to make the right choice. We are asking you to be restrained. We are asking you to not take the easy route, as Reece told you. But what happens when you lay that aside? We ask you to look at man in the state of nature, ladies and gentlemen. In that position of terror, in that position of hopelessness, in that position of visceral reactions to everything around you, where every decision could mean life for you, could mean life for a member of your family, for someone that you love. We ask you to rise above that. We ask you to buy in to something greater than yourselves. We ask you to buy in to concepts like order, concepts like structure, concepts like the rule of law. The solution we have found is simple. What we stand for in this debate. We stand for the rule of law. We stand for regulations in our societies. Why do we care about the rule of law enough at this time? For the same reason that once, when someone was asked if he would give the devil benefit of law, he responded as follows. He responded as follows. Catch the devil, I'd cut down every law in England. And where would you turn to, Roper, when the devil turned on you? This country's planted thick with laws as a forest. I would give the devil benefit of law for my own safety's sake. It's a value which is important in our lives. It is a value which is central to our lives. It is a value which we desperately need. That is what Reece told you. They may say it is only the little things. Little things, ladies and gentlemen, build greatness. Little things, sometimes it is just a brick in the arch. Sometimes it is just a cell in the body of the president of the Cambridge Union. Sometimes it is just a blade of grass beneath an overstyled piece of leather. What do we hear in response to this? We hear that somehow they're promoting the cause of feminism on their side. Here are some facts about the United Kingdom. Over 70% of our representatives in elected office are male. Men earn, on average, 20p in the pound more. But props say don't worry, because they have a miraculous solution. It's to let people walk on the grass. We'd suggest possibly in those circumstances, they might want to think a bit bigger. They might want to hire some female fellows. Go ahead. That's reassuring. Thank you for that. But they tell you something else as well. They tell you that maybe there's a place for dissent, maybe there's a place to question other people. We tell you that there is a place for that, there is a place for your own opinion. But as I mentioned in my introduction, sometimes the selfish concerns aren't everything. Sometimes it is a thing that we ask you to do. As when you are asking to be part of our society, we do ask you to lay some things aside. We do ask you occasionally to obey rules. We suggest that this is one of those occasions. Grow up, walk on the damn concrete. So, in a nutshell, what do we stand for? We think there is more at stake than shorter walks for PhD students who frankly need the sunshine and need the exercise anyway. We think there's more at stake than feminism because, obviously, possibly something more needed than just walking on the grass. We think the rule of law is important. We think the rule of order is important. We think the green blades of Trinity Court are important. We hope that you can share in this dream. We hope you will walk on the concrete we are very proud to oppose.
Thank you very much, George. Okay, so now we'll vote. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, and then vote. So those voting in proposition, say aye. So 1, 2, 3. Aye. Okay, those voting in opposition, 1, 2, oh, you say no. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. No. Oh, God, actually, I really don't know which one. I've got worse hearing in this slide. Right, okay, so, and then abstentions, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so same prop. Okay, so the motion passes then.